Hi, I'm Allison Arredondo, and I'm here with Keith Mayerson and some of his fashion paintings. So, Keith, tell us about some of your work we have here.
Well, all this work was generated from a few years ago when Interview magazine called me up and asked me if I wanted to cover the Haute Couture shows in Paris, France. And so immediately I said, of course I would do it. And they sent me out there, and my job was I was going to do sketches at all the fashion shows, and they gave me exclusive access backstage and in the front row. I was in place of Ingrid Tichy, who was the editor at the time, and she wanted me, for some weird reason, to cover the shows. And so I
she must have seen your work, or
well, she'd seen my work.
Or your reputation.
Hopefully, I was in interview a couple of times. She had asked me a couple of months previous to do a portrait of Annie Lennox.
Oh, neat!
And I felt very honored to do it. And at that point,
because you do a lot of pop culture stuff. Yeah,
that's right. And at that time, I was like, definitely, let's do it. And she said that she would want me to be a sort of regular contributor to the magazine. Now, unfortunately, this ended up being in her last issue of Interview, and so I was really deeply honored to be part of that. And Madonna was on the cover, and when I was there, I took over 3,000 pictures at all these shows, and I made 5 of them for the magazine that were in that, I think, hopefully very special issue. Now,
so what you did for them was sketch, and that's kind of how you got
Well, yeah, I would be backstage, I would be very, very quickly sketching, but I realized everything was moving so fast.
Yeah, you could have really, I modeled,
So it was really hard to do complete sketches, but luckily I came equipped with 2 cameras, and I was shooting.
So then you could sketch off the...
That's right, and I would have a sort of a sensory memory of just being there just by sketching, and it would just give me a feeling of it for when I knew later I'd be able to take these photos home and then just really look at them and try to bring out all the feelings, the emotions, the memories, but of course, like everything that I saw that was there.
So you basically started with, they had you sketch the clothes, but then like I see Karl Lagerfeld here, I mean, did it just evolve into now you wanted to paint off your pictures, or was it memories? Or?
Well, it was amazing because I found when I was there that really I was in her place. Like I would be sitting right next to the
front row where all those cool people sit.
Exactly, like this over
all of a sudden
here.
you're with the cool kids. Yay!
Like I saw, all the Vogue people. For instance, this woman here is sort of in the art world. We have Roberta Smith, who's a really important critic who can make or break shows for people. But this woman writes for the International Herald Tribune, and she's known as Samurai Sue because she has this crazy samurai haircut, and so she'd be sitting right next to me. And then at Dior, they would bring me backstage, and so I was able to take pictures of, the models taking off their makeup, or here they put me in First Look, which is where all the models, right before they go on stage, preen and prune in front of mirrors, and they sat me on a chair. They didn't really know what to do with me because I was this guy with a beard.
You're like an extra in a movie.
Yeah, and I wasn't like the paparazzi and all the people.
But you belonged there because they wanted you there.
I hope so. And so they set me in a chair, and I was like drawing. They set up all the mirrors right next to me, and so she was really like this. And like this guy from Harper's Bazaar was right next to me. He was like, "Get out of that chair! What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm from Interview. It's okay. I'm supposed to be here." And so I would sort of fight my way for access, and then I would run to the front of the stage, like at Dior, like this one over here. I ran right to the front right before the show began, and I started sketching, really excitedly away, and the paparazzi people had me move back a little bit because I was getting into all their shots. But it was so fabulous to be part of this. There used to be a whole movement in art called art and fashion in the late 90s. And at that time, I felt it was really superfluous or sort of weird because I felt like, it was for like the people who could afford to buy a pot of Coke could also afford to buy a painting.
Sure.
And once the coat went out of style, maybe they'd throw it in a closet or away, and maybe they'd do the same with the painting. I always felt like art should be about something bigger than that.
Exactly.
More than that.
Like what you want to say.
Yeah, for sure. It's like a genuine way of expressing your soul to the people, and hopefully, if it's any good, it will stand through different epochs of time, and it's about something real.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't seem so strange that, clothes is often talked about an expression of the designers, that's their artwork, and it doesn't seem that strange that these, this kind of thing would mold into one, and now you're painting, models or designers?
It was weird when I was there because I realized obviously these guys are artists. You know, somebody like Karl Lagerfeld totally has this vision of the world. Somebody like John Galliano, who designs these dresses, really looks at art history and quotes from art history. And when design and fashion could really change the world and the way people think about things, I think it really truly is art. Like Chanel made, I think, pantsuits for women for the first time, which really definitely helped to empower women.
Exactly.
And, you know, when I was there too, I just realized that, you know, with the paparazzi taking all these pictures, very few people have access to the art world because it's so rarefied and strange. You can't get art form.
You know what you're like? You're like those people like who instead of sending an email, they write a letter. And you really get like the emotion of the words and the handwriting. I mean, it's all about meaning. Well, so, you know, instead of just electronically like a picture and then boom, it's over.
Yeah.
I mean, tell me how do you change it in your mind? Like, what do you see? Like when you're drawing a model, I mean, it's beautiful and it's very dreamy. I mean, I'm not an art expert at all, but just from looking at it, I mean,
well, a big word for me is synesthetic, and what that is when you're like synesthesia is something that people get when you see like the word orange and you see the color orange in your mind.
It's like anesthesia, the same like what Latin root or something like that. Yeah.
And I think it's about, for me in fine art, it's about looking at something, but hearing, tasting, and feeling it, really experiencing it.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so I really want to bring that across. I listen to music that means something to me, maybe music that invokes what was happening in the show, or like a method actor trying to put myself into the shoes of the people that I'm portraying. Like, for me, like I was really looking at Manet a lot when I was doing these. I was looking and thinking about participating in the circus.
I was gonna say, Manet. Yes, I know a couple things about art, but definitely,
Well, like Degas, you know, supposedly was like a misogynist, and he would always paint all these women from their back going like this in toward positions. Like I always think, like if you give me Betty Page bondage pictures, and look at Degas, it works. But Manet rather would like want to bring a political agency to the woman he's portraying, like the woman at the barmaid. So she's, you know, the woman at the bar, she's looking out at you, the viewer, so you can't objectify her because she's looking at you.
Sure.
And there, he shows all the scenes in the mirror behind them of the Folies Bergère, wherever it was happening, and all the politics of that time. And so he was sort of like this, sort of participating in it, but maybe critiquing it a little bit too.
Sure.
And at the time when this was happening, it was when the economic world situation just started to rock. It was the week that Heath Ledger committed suicide. Yeah. It was weird, and we were.
Was that 2007? I mean, it just like, or was it 2008 at that point?
2008. This is the winter of 2008. Yeah. These were
That's right, because I think the market started to go downhill like October 2007. Yeah.
And so it was right there on the news at night. Obama was at the debates, and so it was a really weird political time.
Crazy time. Yeah.
We were there living on our credit card and going into these like weird bubbles with people who sort of, or who are like, you know, salivating at these dresses.